having completed our protective carport, we're back to collecting a little more ice to refuel the Hail Mary houseboat. But this episode is focused on making a drone to explore the interior of the wrecks we found and selectively go after key components that may have some silver. Alright, while these hydrogen tanks fill, let's start taking a look at the drone we need. I figured the unused small side connector would be perfect to build and carry the drone. And what I was thinking is something simple. I'd use a medium cargo container for extra storage and use the connector side to add some of the thrusters. For this to work, the build had some constraints. The corridors in these ships are one large grid block big. One large grid block is the same as 5 high and 5 wide small grid blocks. So the biggest I can make this drone is probably 4 high and 4 wide, so it can fit through the corridors. We'll add the required grinder on the front, and then, to keep the profile only 3 wide on the top and bottom, I'll add the remaining thrusters and other components on the rear. We'll take a brief moment though to deal with our uninvited guests. In addition to the minimum 6 thrusters, we'll need a remote control block to remotely pilot the thing, an antenna to access the remote control, some battery action, probably 2 or 3 of those, a front camera to see where we're going, and really, that seems about it. No, almost forgot the gyroscope. And a good light source. We need one of those too. While we're building stuff, I'd like to add a little solar charging to the ship. This roof can be torn off, and I can probably just drop in one of the new colorable solar panels so it can double as a roof. Fits perfect. Now we'll weld it up and test it out. Okay, well, it would seem the colorable solar panels aren't airtight, so we'll just put that ceiling right back in place. Another failed piece of engineering. I did a little work on the interior and removed some of the extra blocks I really didn't need. I really don't need the space either, but it'll make the whole interior seem more roomy. I have decided it's also time to remove the control blocks I had on the roof. I kept them this long in case I lost that mag boot contact I've been talking about. I might be able to move this ship over to where I was floating in space, and the helm would be a nice easy way to grab and regain contact and control the ship. But I've outgrown that safety net now. We can now move the important blocks like the gyro and remote control to the interior. I did fit a second helm though on the rear porch. It actually fits in nice and looks like a little work table of some sort. Eventually, I want to fit a survival kit and a cryo chamber on the houseboat. That'll really make it a great survival space pod ship, and fully usable in a multiplayer server environment. Once I get it all complete, I'll put it up on the workshop, folks can use it and see what they think. To fit those other things though, I'm pretty sure I'll have to push out the cabin side a block or two, because they are fairly chunky pieces. With the blocks removed, let's do on the hydrogen tank side what we tried to do on the cabin side, and add a solar panel. Nice. This little bit of power will help us keep our drone recharged between some of our wreck explorations. But now, I have a new idea. I'm gonna drop a mag plate and build a small little charging depot with a connector and one solar panel. I'll show you what I want to do with that little oddity here in a minute. We'll paint our charging depot and the accompanying drone blue, because we can. Okay, I was all ready to go and realized this drone would not work as designed. One thing I was concerned about from the beginning was that it seemed too long. I would likely get stuck trying to make tight turns in tight corners inside the wrecks. The other is that the small connector I'd put on the side wouldn't allow components to pass through for unloading. So, a rebuild is in order. We'll start with a big connector on the back, go straight to the grinder to make it shorter, and I'll just place all the thrusters and other components it needs on the top and side. One lone Meteor. Must not have had any friends. Okay, we have a drone. I really do think the compressed length will be better, even though it is taller. We might be able to add some armor plates to it later, but let's just see how it works first. I will do one thing though. It needs a little flair. We'll give it an abbreviated name on the side. RCD, Remote Control Drone. Pretty basic. You know, I almost did forget a couple important bits. A light on the front to see where we're going, a side connector to help dock, and the all-important antenna so we can actually communicate remotely with the thing. That's some densely packed components right there. But before we take off to test this thing, we'll plop in a few more parachutes to replace the ones we removed earlier. Alright, that's all we really need. Let's go. That was a terrible takeoff. I wasn't thinking about what I was doing, took off a different way, started falling back to the earth, left my inertial dampeners on and burned way too much fuel, forgot to close my door and pressurize the cabin. It was a mess, but we did it. We're in space, so let's test out our new drone stuff. Okay, we've come back to the scene of our near accident with the warhead, because we know there's an intact gravity generator in there. Let's see how our drone operates. It's completely untested. Alright, this is a typical one grid block entranceway. Let's try to see where our camera needs to be to move through there properly. I'm a little low into the side. Oh, look at that. It just slips right in as designed. Now, here, this part of the corridor needs to be ground out to fit. I knew there'd be pieces like that, so it's no problem. Down past where our warhead was, it should be just to the left of this corner. We've got to get rid of a couple blocks to get through, but that's all we need. Here we are. We've got it, except for what looks like one gravity component. We need all of it, but we're full, so let's try to squeeze past it and use the natural breach in the side of the ship. Okay, perfect. And looking behind, our gravity component is still there. We'll just unload and come back for it. The drone worked great, but the issue I have is that I can't grind to collect a raw component. So I'll bring the drone up to the back porch of the houseboat and do a little modification. I think if I just add a couple blocks here, I can replace the light and put down a mag plate. If I can attach the gravity component to the mag plate, I can bring the component back to the ship and just pick it up by hand here at the porch. Let's be a tiny bit greedy and grind up some of these small containers to see if they have anything good. Nothing amazing just yet, so we'll return to our mission and get our silver-bearing gravity component. We've got it. Now to unload. Beautiful. That was actually 2 components. An intact thruster component, we need those too. We found a new wreck. This almost looks like some sort of space station. I'm not seeing any ion thrusters, but it may have some sort of medical room or survival kit. So it's time to put our little drone back to work. We'll do a little snooping around. Let's grind our way into this corridor. It seems to lead to a functional area of the station. It seems as though we can squeeze through the sliding door, just barely, but we can fit. That looks very promising just ahead. Let's get rid of this bit. Yes, a survival kit. That's good silver. We'll clear out our inventory, then go back. Three medical components. That's kind of major. Let's grind out a couple more pieces to look for a small reactor. What's this? We're moving. It's made a convenient exit. Let's get out and see what's going on. Oh wow, I was wondering why there was a cockpit block on the inside. This is a whole separate ship that's just slipped right into the station. It was probably merge blocked in. My guess is that this was some sort of escape pod. I absolutely love it. Finding things like this in Space Engineers adds a huge element of discovery to the game. We've found a couple wrecks that are the same, but for the most part, they've all been unique. Let's dumpster dive around in this one a bit more and see what we find. It was a cool interior, had some stairs leading down, but I'll admit to just being a little nervous with the flashing timer blocks. It might know we're here, which might not be good. Let's get out, get connected, and move on, because we've got other important experiments to run. I consider the drone to be a success, but let's see if we can use the little charging depot I made for it. My idea was to mag lock the charging depot to the trade station to hold it in place. If that worked, then I could drop off the drone in the safe zone of the trade station and let it trickle charge while I'm away back on the surface of Pertam. Well, that doesn't really work. No mag locking to the trade station. Probably because I'm in a safe zone. I was afraid it wouldn't, but I can at least have it here to do its thing till I need it again. Before we go though, I'll drop into the trade station and see what they've got for sale. You never know. I'm speechless. Look at all this material. This is radically different from what we've seen so far, but still no data pads. Over at the contracts, we have one hauling contract, so they will reappear from time to time. Our plan to take a hauling contract and use the jump drive we're gathering components for to fly to another station and increase our economic buying options is still viable. So we'll fly ourselves back home and get on with our plan, which includes adding a little automated wizardry to the Hail Mary houseboat, which is certainly looking good. We'll take a look at what that is in the next episode, and I'll see you then.